Welcome to the Thealy Podcast. Today is March 8th, 2026, and we are on day 67 of reading through the Bible. If you remember yesterday, they had taken a census of the tribe of Israel in order to grant lands to each tribe in proportion to the population of each tribe, because they had taken over some land. And today we start off with the daughters of Zelophehad petitioning Moses and Eleazar. So the daughters of Zelophehad were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, and their father was a descendant of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. These women stood before Moses and Eleazar and the entire community at the entrance of the tabernacle, and they were saying that their father had died in the wilderness. He was not among Korah's followers who had rebelled against the Lord. He did die because of his own sin, but he had no sons, and they were worried about the name of their father disappearing from the clan just because he had no sons. So they were asking for the property that would belong to their father with the rest of their relatives. So Moses brought the case before God, and the Lord replied and said that this was a legitimate claim, so that they must give the daughters the property that would have been given to their father. And then he goes on to give instructions to the people of Israel about if a man dies and has no son, that the inheritance would go to the daughters, and if there's no daughter, it would go to his brothers. If there's no brother, it would go to his father's brothers. But if there's no father's brothers, then his inheritance would go just to the nearest relative in the clan. And this would be a legal requirement for the people of Israel, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then it tells a story about the Lord coming to Moses one day and telling him to climb one of the mountains east of the river and to look over the land that he has given to the people of Israel. After he has seen it, he will die like his brother Aaron, because they both rebelled against God and his instructions in the wilderness of Zin, when the people of Israel rebelled, and they did not demonstrate God's holiness when he got water out of the rock. Instead of just speaking to the rock, he struck the rock twice with his staff. So Moses asks the Lord to please appoint a new man as a leader for the community, so that they have someone who's going to guide them wherever they go and lead them into battle, so that the community of the Lord is not going to be like sheep without a shepherd. So the Lord tells him to take Joshua, son of Nun, who has the Spirit in him, and lay his hands on him and present him to Eleazar the priest before the whole community, and publicly commission him to lead the people. Transfer some of his authority onto Joshua so the whole community of Israel can obey him. When the direction from the Lord is needed, then Joshua will stand before Eleazar the priest, who will use the Urim, one of the sacred lots cast before the Lord, to determine his will. So this is how Joshua and the rest of the community of Israel will determine everything that they should do. So Moses did this, and he presented Joshua to Eleazar the priest and the whole community. Then the Lord gives Moses some more commands and instructions about the offerings, and how these are, of course, burnt offerings. They are special gifts, are a pleasing aroma to God, and that they are his food. So they're supposed to make sure that they are done at the appointed times and offered according to God's instructions. So there is a daily offering, and that is done just once for the entire nation of Israel. One lamb is sacrificed in the morning and one at night. Then there is the Sabbath offering, and it's a special offering done just on the Sabbath in addition to the daily offering. And then there is the monthly offering that's offered on the first day of each month, in addition to the daily offering. And then there are the offerings for the Passover feast, and those are done, I believe, on the 7 days of the Passover feast. And then there's offerings for the Festival of Harvest, offerings for the Festival of Trumpets, which is done on the first day of the month in early autumn that is appointed. And then 10 days later is the offering for the Day of Atonement. And then 5 days later, the Festival of Shelters begins, and there are sacrifices that have to be done on the 7 days of the Festival of Shelters. And that one's interesting because the number of animals that are sacrificed each day actually decreases each day of those festivals. So the Lord says that they must present these offerings at the annual festivals in addition to the sacrifices offered in connection with vows, or as voluntary offerings, or as burnt offerings, grain offerings, liquid offerings, or peace offerings. So it's interesting to note today that the Lord honors the women in the tribe, that they are able to inherit along with the men. And then it's also interesting that after Moses dies, Joshua evidently will not be in direct communication with the Lord, that he will be getting answers from the Lord using the Urim, one of the sacred lots they cast before the Lord, to get answers for things like going into battle or other decisions that they need to know what God's will is. So I thought that was interesting that it says that Joshua has God's spirit. However, now they're going to use sacred lots to communicate with God. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again tomorrow.